Let's put it in sport mode.
See?
Okay, so now you can see the light on the dash, guys, is in sport mode, right?
And now it'll shift a little quicker.
Oh, really?
As well.
Interesting. A little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, 90s. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. You know, it's so much fun to see what Ferrari was able to do back then, you know? Like, you just take it for granted today with all the modern this and modern that, but, you know, this is back in the day when they literally hand-built the cars, you know? Nowadays, it's all factory this, and they've modernized everything, and, you know, everything's got a screen, and it's got a computer, and it's got a nanny to make sure you don't mess up. And this is just, this is just old school, right? This is like why we all got into cars to begin with. This is your dad's Ferrari, right? I mean, this is the cool. The driving experience is just great. I mean, you know, I'm surprised how comfortable the car is. I'm surprised how GT it is. From that point of view, it's definitely surprised me today. Welcome back to Driven Productions. My name is Adam. Honored to have you here at the channel. Okay, we're talking about one of my all-time favorite cars today, and one of my all-time favorite brands. This is the Ferrari 355 Berlinetta. This is one of the greatest creations to come out of Maranello, in my personal opinion. This has the 3.5 liter, 375 horsepower V8 engine. Has one of the best sounding V8s ever made. Now, this particular example has the F1 paddle shifting transmission. Guys, at the time this came out, that was considered revolutionary technology. You have to put yourself back in 1994. This particular example is in 1999, but back in 94 when they released this, nobody had paddle transmissions, right? So this is such an interesting car for me to review because I've never actually experienced the old F1 paddle transmissions. I've only actually ever experienced the gated manual. So I was really curious to work with Alan to do a review today. I'm gonna bring him on camera in just a little bit. He's gonna talk about his experience with the car. He's had it 3 months. Guys, this car came from Bring a Trailer. This has 12,000 miles. Rosso Corsa paint, black interior, really nice spec, magnesium wheels. Like, this is literally a new car. I mean, 12,000 miles, right? It's from 1999, so it's been driven not even 400 miles a year. It's unbelievable. Looks brand new. So we're gonna go through the whole car today, talk a little bit about what it's like to drive. We did a nice point of view drive. Feel free to use the chapters below. Now, a couple of things to note about this car in the introduction. These require an engine out service every 5 years. Now, why? It's because there are 40 valves in the engine. It's a 180-degree crankshaft and titanium connecting rods. And in addition to that, all of that stuff is belt driven. And so all of that stuff is tensioned down with the tension, right? And then over the time, it can eventually give every 5 years, roughly, they say. You need to get the whole engine dropped. Now, it's not actually as extensive as you think. It's designed to be dropped. And so there's some things actually in the back here, some plates, you have to remove those. The whole thing then is able to be lowered. Still, it's a major engine out service. And that, I think, has prevented this car from going to the stratosphere as far as pricing. You know, Alan picked this thing up, I think it was in the mid 80s, low 90s, etc. It actually no sold on Bring a Trailer. So that goes to show you right now, it's a great time to be looking at buying one of these because, come on guys, for this kind of money, name a sexier looking car, a better performing car, a better sounding car for the money. It's really hard to compete with this. When they went to the 360 after the 355, they got rid of the engine out service, etc. But in the end of the day, guys, I really think that this is still a great store of value. For Alan, this is absolutely safe money. There's no way that this car is gonna be worth less than he paid in 5 or 10 years. No way. I would be shocked if that was the case, okay? The reality is these are gonna continue to appreciate. They're no longer making these engines. One of the absolute best sounding motors ever. When you're on fuel, oh my God, it screams. It is so loud from the outside, although on the inside, shockingly, and we're gonna talk about that in the POV Drive a little bit more, all of this is, you know, leather, it's covered in carpet. It's actually quite subtle and comfortable on the inside. The seats are great. So anyway, we're gonna cover it all today. Really appreciate you guys watching, checking out my content. If you like it, comment below, subscribe, and let's get into the next clip.
Good to be here with you.
Man, thanks so much for letting me experience this incredible creation, the 355. So, you always desired a Ferrari, is that right? Or
Yeah,
what's the
I
story?
always wanted one. I was going to get one in 2018, but then McLaren came out with the 720S. And I kind of fell in love with the carbon fiber construction, the dihedral doors.
Right.
So I decided to go ahead and get the McLaren, and it's been a good car for me. I really haven't had any major problems. I also had a Porsche, and I'd had it for 25 years. It was starting to have some transmission troubles and check engine light. So I didn't really want to put more money in it. So I thought, well, maybe this would be a good time to trade it in a classic Ferrari. So I finally got my Ferrari at 63 years old.
It's always a good time to trade in for a classic Ferrari, right? So what are your thoughts on this thing, man? I mean, you've had it now 3 months.
Yeah.
First impressions, what do you think?
Well, I love it, just the sound and the feel. And the reason I wanted a 355 is this is only 167 inches long.
Right.
So it's really more sports car size than supercar size.
True.
Because the 360 came out, I think it's about a foot longer than this. And so Ferrari doesn't really build small sports cars like this anymore. And I live out in the country, so I mainly just drive on country roads.
Right.
So the smaller the car is, the easier it is to position on the narrow roads.
Now, when you did your research on this car, I'm assuming it already had the engine out, is that right?
Right, it actually had it like 6 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, at the Ferrari dealer in Michigan.
Do you know how much that service was?
I think it was like 12,000.
Okay, so I was right in the money between 5 and 15, depending on who you do it. Yeah. 12,000, that seems about right. I mean, not a cheap thing though.
Yeah.
So every 5 years, you're 12 grand into the car.
Yeah, you can get it cheaper if you don't go to a Ferrari dealer. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure an exotic auto sports will do it for less, but
Sure.
not that much less, right? Between 20%. Well, still, it's a big service. This engine felt so good today, guys. Felt very powerful, very robust, sounded incredible. Really. These naturally aspirated engines, when you're above 5,000 RPMs. So if you don't know, guys, this makes 375 horsepower, goes to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. So not exactly the fastest car, but keep in mind, back in its day, the fastest car of the time was the Corvette ZR1, and this is actually faster than that. That car only went to 60 in 4.7 seconds. Now, this also has 40 valves. It's 5 valves per cylinder, so it's something. I mean, you know, and that's just one of the interesting characteristics of this engine. It allows it to redline at 8,500 RPMs, which is pretty good. I mean, I don't know too many 8,500 RPM redline V8s out there. You know, you're talking about a very exclusive club at that point. But overall, the engine is the piece de resistance of this car. I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, I've driven it with the gated. Now, what are your thoughts, Alan, on the F1?
well, I decided I wanted an F1 because I'm getting a little older. I'm getting a little neuropathy or numbness in my left foot.
Right.
So I was starting to have a little trouble doing the clutch pedal with my Porsche. So that's what made me decide to get the F1 transmission. And I like it now I have it.
You know, it's interesting a thought, right? I mean, doing the F1 is easy, right? I mean, it's an automatic. Guys, if you hit that button right there, and actually when I started my POV Drive, it'll drive for you. It's pretty comfortable. You could absolutely daily this. You could take it to work, not a problem. But at the end of the day, if you're getting older, you know, people don't think about that, right?
Sure.
Everybody wants
Sitting
these.
in traffic, you know.
Exactly. It's a lot of work to work that gated manual. I mean, it's one of those things you got to be in it to win it, right? Whereas this, hey, you can just go, you know, no problem. Now, this particular car had everything, right? It had the toolkit. You want to show folks the toolkit real quick?
Sure.
And you can see, look, very practical car. I mean, you have a very large front trunk. Talked about, you know, collectability, guys. You definitely want to be sure that it comes with some of this stuff. And we're going to show you what's inside the toolkit right now. Boy, what a nice presentation, right? Stitched leather, got Ferrari right on it. Look at that. That's cool.
All the wrenches say Ferrari on it.
Nice.
They even give you some belts for the alternator and for the air conditioner.
Okay.
I can't imagine getting out on the side of the highway.
Yeah, what are you going to do,
under
right?
the car,
yeah,
but,
right. Wow.
They still got the original light bulbs.
It's even got the bulbs?
pliers. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And I got the towing hook. I just have that inside the car because I don't always bring the toolkit.
Sure.
So it's got a everything it had originally.
That's fantastic. And then these are your books and manual?
Yeah, it's got all the original books.
This is interesting, guys. This is the intake for the heating and cooling system. You can actually see the filter right in there, and there's apparently a fan in there. So it comes out right here. Look at that. So let's show some folks the manual and the books real quick.
Sure.
Curious how this looks.
Here's the main manual for it.
Wow, nice.
It's got all the maintenance and service stuff.
Is it actually filled out in this particular car? Is it? Yeah. Let's show. I'm gonna come over. There you go, guys. Look at that. 3.9. Is that saying 1999?
Yeah, it's delivered to Ferrari of San Francisco.
Yep. Cool.
And then there's another service stuff in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of these cars, like in Europe, these are so important, whereas in America, it's not as important, right? Wow, look at that. So the 15,000 was literally just done.
Yeah.
So look at the gap. That's wild. So this must have just sat in a collection.
I guess.
And was never really used. Look at that. Bloom
for 20 years. It just went from 5,000 to 12,000.
That's really interesting, though. He must have had somebody else service it. Was there a Carfax record that showed somebody else servicing it? Because I mean, every 5 years, right? You would have had to.
I have some paper receipts.
Okay.
I have a folder of paper receipts.
So they didn't fill out the book necessarily. Right. That's because he didn't take it to Ferrari. See, that's actually official Ferrari. Yeah. That's pretty cool, though. Real quick, we'll show you the interior of the Ferrari. The door handle is right here. I showed that on another clip as well. Not many frills here on the door, guys. You do have this Ferrari on the door sill. This is carbon fiber here. I believe this is aftermarket though, right, Alan?
I think so.
Now, one of the things I wanted to point out, if you're not familiar with it, look at how this is all carpet. You have leather back here. All of this is leather stitched. Again, nice thick carpet here. And what's surprising about this for me today is when you roll the windows down and or you hear this car driving by, it's loud. But from the inside of the cockpit, it's actually not that loud at all. They actually did quite a bit of sound dampening in this car. You can see here, there's a nice kind of leather stitch on the top. All this is stitched in leather. Again, it's pretty low frills.
The original Connolly leather in it from England. And the reason Ferrari uses English leather is because the cold climate in England, there's not as many bugs that bite the cows. So if Ferrari was to get the leather from Italy, there'd be a lot more imperfections in the leather. But apparently English leather doesn't have near as many imperfections.
That is really interesting. You know, I've read that, like Bridge of Weirs with Aston Martin and whatnot, right? Very similar.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, the leather is supple. It's fantastic. Here's your paddle shifter, guys. Again, they feel really nice. They've got a nice metal feel to them. The steering wheel, you know, again, 4-point here. You can put your hand here, here, here. It's got a really perfect thickness to it. I like my wheels a little bit more on the Honda JDM side, a little thinner than some of these big, thick, you know, Mustang Shelby wheels that I used to have. Not a huge fan of it. You do have your fuel gauge in the middle here. You have your oil pressure. You have a clock there on the right. I love how it has the old school Ferrari. That's what they gave you in 1999. I don't even think it has a CD player, does it?
Actually, it did. It's up in the front trunk.
Okay.
Yeah. It has CD player.
They must have just come out with CDs around then, right?
That'll play cassettes as well. So you have both.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the miles, guys. 12,740 miles. That is unbelievable. And here's where your shift indicator is. And yeah, I mean, the thing about it, guys, is like this right here. What's interesting about this car is like everybody loves the gated manuals today, but back in the day, this is what everybody wanted.
Sure.
Everybody wanted the new F1 transmission, right? And it's just funny. Here's your traction control button. Now, obviously, we left that on today. And to put it in reverse, you put your foot on this, you pull this up, and you push it back. So that's what that little thing is for. Again, you push it up and back, and it puts it in reverse. And then to go to first, and you'll see this on my POV Drive, you just hit that. Other than that, this is your ability right here to have your smoking, if you'd like, a little cigar or something. Not even sure what this is for. Is this for your controls?
Yeah, that's for the electric mirrors.
Oh, electric mirrors, okay. And then these buttons, they don't feel sticky at all, so I'm assuming these have all been replaced.
Yes.
Yeah, they feel nice.
It has automatic temperature control.
Yep. Does it really?
Yeah. And there's a little button to
Oh
open
yeah, look
the
at that. 72, 76.
the fuel filler cap there. And you got to remember to do that before you shut the engine down at the gas station.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I just realized that.
You get out and then you can't put the gas
you're like,
in.
crap. You got to get back in.
I learned that the first time I tried.
I mean, but you know, the windows are automated, guys. You can work both from just here. I mean, like I said, a very easy to drive car. I will say it's pretty low slung. Like, you have to be mindful of that. You are in a sports car. You don't have a tremendous amount of room, but this seat is as far back as I believe it goes, and I'm 6 feet tall. And you can see here, I've got a good amount of room here. You know, compared to the aluminum pedals, I'm comfortable, but it's still a small car, and you can see how it kind of goes. See how it like comes in here, and so your feet are here, and so you kind of sit at a slight angle. Same thing with the driver's side, right? Comes in. So again, if you had a third pedal here, I mean, you don't have that much space to relax, so to speak. Here's your front trunk release. Here's your rear, you know, engine release, and here's your parking brake.
Name on it. I actually have that in the Porsche.
That's
so
really
I took it out
cool.
of Porsche and I put that.
Well, there you go. You got a
American
little
racing team there.
Yeah, you got a little North American Racing Team plaque. Alan said, made, what does that say? Made especially for Alan. I love that. I got to get that in my my Vanquish. Is this a little place to put storage and stuff?
Yeah,
that's
a little cubby because it originally had a glove compartment,
right.
but then they started putting airbags in 1997, so they had to put the airbag where the glove compartment is.
Interesting. I like how it has the F1 designation there. And then what is this up here? Is this like, this looks like an airplane vent or something.
Oh, it's actually a reading light.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like an air vent, but it's a little reading light.
Interesting. They give you a reading light and they give you another light here, huh?
Yeah.
Boy, that's interesting. Whose wife complained about that? You know, there's not a reading light in here, honey. Well, very interesting. It's just, it's, you know, gosh, I love it. I love it. I love the simplicity of it, you know? Gosh, all these modern cars, it's nothing but screens and everything in here is so analog, and it's the reason why you want to, you know, make the investment into one of these, in my personal opinion, guys, you know?
In the back here, the glass is curved, and that started out in 1967 with the Ferrari Dino. And because it's curved like that, you can fit the bonnet to the engine here. That's also curved, and it goes right up inside the window. And I believe this was the last Ferrari to have the curved glass.
No kidding. Yeah, it's a really cool design feature. And if you guys didn't notice, this is where the air intake for the engine, one of them, lives. I absolutely love that look. I mean, this car, it's so sexy. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you tell me. When you stand here and look at this thing, like, it's the tits, guys. I mean, it really looks good. And yeah, you could say, oh, the wheels are the classic 5-spoke wheels. They're not as cool as anything modern, but you know, I'm a sucker for light wheels. That's classic Ferrari all day long. Now, the only thing I should mention is these front kind of turn signal lights. They are actually clear, whereas a fully original one would have had the yellow ones, but they look so much better, and I don't think anybody's gonna ding you for that. You wanna show the lights going up real quick?
Sure.
The old classic lights.
Yeah, let's put the...
Yeah, and this is really easy to put down, guys, and it's one click on the side. I'll do the other side. So you do kind of have to come around here. And by the way, this was recently paint corrected, guys. The paint on this car is unbelievable. It literally looks factory new. It is, I mean, somebody took exceptionally good care of this car.
Okay, so there's the parking lights.
Okay.
And there's the pop-ups.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't care what you tell me. I'm a sucker for some pop-up headlights.
And to me, they look like eyes, and the front grille looks like a smile.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, come on. Classic Ferrari. This is going to be a future classic. I mean, it already is, in my mind, but this thing is going to be a 6-figure car one day, without a doubt. Whether you get the gated manual will probably be $250,000 one day. These were $136,000 new. So, and that was back in the 90s. So again, you had to be somebody to afford it, no doubt about it.
And then the F1 transmission was a $10,000 option.
Really?
So a lot of people didn't get it just because of the price.
Right.
So there's only about 1,000 Berlinettas with the F1 transmission.
So the F1 transmission was an upgrade. It was a premium
Right.
color. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the tires. So say again?
Asymmetrical.
Okay, asymmetrical. That's so Italian. So those are P0s. Look how old school these look, man. P0s. Not like they're coming out today, right? And what is this, 290? No, 265 rear. Okay, so not that much rubber in the back. I mean, hell, my raced out Honda has a 255s, and then you have 225 front. So again, not like modern cars today, guys, where you're getting 345 rear tires, right, on a Z06 Corvette, or even a Ferrari is going to have at least 305, 315s, etc. But again, back in the day, this is all you needed. I mean, she only has 375 horsepower, so it's not smoking rubber that much. All right, guys, we're gonna go for a drive here in the 355 Berlinetta F1. So,
and you got to do the immobilizer button.
Okay, which is right here.
And that comes on solid.
That's good.
Yep.
Nice, sounds good. On top of that, she doesn't go anywhere unless you give her fuel, huh? Okay, very dual clutch like. Do you have to worry about scraping with this car? Hardly at all? Probably not too bad, is it?
Well, it's not that low, but the front end hangs over quite a lot, and there's no lift. So, yeah, on, speed bumps, you got to worry about it.
Love the feeling of the wheel. Very thin. I'm a sucker for a thin wheel. I'm not a big fan of these big, bulky wheels that you keep finding on modern cars. Pretty smooth gear transition, isn't it?
Yeah, if you lift a little on the gas right before you pull the paddle, it smooths it out.
So if I wanted to go into auto mode, is this right? This? Okay, so I push that and then she shifts for me. Is that right?
You might have to be in neutral to do that.
Okay. Just obviously pulling both paddles doesn't do anything in this car.
No, it does. It'll go in neutral.
Okay, and then it'll go into. Okay, so it just shifted itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in automatic. It was just liking that gear.
Oh yeah, there's a little light for automatic.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just want to try it automatic now. Now I know you would never drive this car in automatic. I'm sure of that. All right, is it right or left from here? Where do you recommend?
Right. Okay. I'll take this to the Natchez Trace Parkway.
Cool. All right, so it's starting in second. Interesting. Just want to try automatic, see what Ferrari programmed. That shift is hilarious. Oh, that's like that makes a Lamborghini SVJ or SV or Aventador feel interesting, because that has that same type of delayed shift. Well, it's very smooth though overall. It's quiet, refined. You could daily drive this thing. Look at that. We're in 6th gear, doing 50 miles an hour. Now, who'd have thunk it? Boy, it's quiet, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
It opens up the exhaust valve. It starts about 4,000, and it's like completely open by 6,000. So it'll get a lot louder then.
Well, as a first impression, guys, like if you put this thing in automatic mode, it does have a very interesting shift. It's not a modern dual clutch by any means. It's not even a modern single clutch, but it's comfortable. I wouldn't want to bang gears with it. I will say that, but that downshift is great. I almost didn't even feel it. So overall, yeah, that's a surprising thing. This is the Trace, isn't it? Or is this the Trace?
Yes, this is the entrance to the Trace.
So we're gonna get on the Natchez Trace here, one of my all-time favorite roads in America. A road that I spend an obscene amount of time on because I do a lot of motorcycle riding. The shifts are hilarious. You probably never drive this thing in automatic
mode. No, I don't.
You don't. This is like your first experience, right? In automatic mode, yeah. I mean, why would you, right? But I want to share this because this is a review, and I have never seen anybody review one of these cars with the automatic. They're always paddle shifting it. And I was always curious with the F1, because the F1, guys, this was the very first car that Ferrari even came out with that had paddle shifters. And frankly, at the time, this was Formula One technology, and nobody was doing it. And so this was pretty groundbreaking back for 1994 when they released this technology. Of course, nowadays, everything's got a paddle shifter. Your Kia has a paddle shifter, right? But anyway, I just thought that would be interesting to start off with. So we're going to go a little bit more south, even though the best roads are there, but there's also the busier roads. All right, to take it off, do I just put
I think just hit the...
Okay. I'll tell you what. We'll just shift it and see if it switches. Okay.
Yeah, it's off.
All right, it's off. So now we're in manual.
See, that's a lot better.
It's still jerky, but
Yeah.
oh god, this car feels so balanced though in the turns just from hello. So the valves open up either on half throttle or what RPM is it? Do you know?
I think it's kind of gradual. It starts to open about 4,000.
Okay.
I think it's fully open about 6,000.
Okay. Well, let's open her up a little bit. The shifts are just hilarious. And you've never driven this car, right? You literally drove it sight unseen, bought it sight unseen, the whole nine, right?
That's correct.
How has the driving experience been?
Oh, it's been great. I love it.
I love these old cars because they're so analog, and this thing has so much usable power, right? I mean, 375 horsepower. Back in the day, this was beating the Corvette ZR1, right? But nowadays, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, that's not considered anything to write home about, but it's usable. You're gonna actually have fun, right? Take it on the trace and enjoy it versus like most modern cars, you're half throttle and you go to jail. Which I personally love that feature of these old cars. God, it feels so light. It really does. The hydraulic steering feels so good too. There's a little bit of a dead point in the middle, guys, but once you're loaded up, even just a little bit in the turns, you know exactly where the wheels are, what they're doing. It feels really nice. Sounds great. I mean, we're just revving at 4,000. I mean, this thing redlines at 8,500, so we're not even halfway up the tach. I'm just getting a feel for it right now. Alan did tell me that the tires are 7 years old, which means we're going to be investing in some PS4 tires soon or something equivalent. But overall, very easy to drive. I mean, exceedingly easy to drive. It does not feel harsh. The shifts are pretty butter. The weight of the steering, the brakes. I feel like I have quite a bit of room in here as well. It's a tight car. We're both 6 feet tall. We're a little sardines in here, but I'm not uncomfortable. I think you could take this on a rally and not hate yourself. The seat's very comfortable. I do like the seat. I'm surprised how quiet it is. This is a stock exhaust, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, most of the Ferraris I've reviewed have had like a Capristo or something, right? And they're so loud. Yeah. This actually feels pretty adult, or sounds very adult. It transitions very nicely. This is a car you could really have some fun with. I mean, that you really know you're in a mid-engine car, don't you?
Yeah. They say the sound is a little different than most Ferraris because it has the 5 valves per cylinder.
Yep, 5 valve per cylinder, 180-degree crankshaft. So what I believe that means is all 4 cylinders fire, and then all 4 fire. So it's not like your traditional V, right? Where it's like 2, stop, 2, stop, 2, right? And so it's just a little different in the way it sounds. It sounds like 2 V4s basically, right? You get a little shove on like quarter throttle, but nothing crazy. It's still though, it's got a fun factor to it. I love it.
Now, of course, it's a little louder if you put the windows down.
A little bit.
To hear the exhaust.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stretches coming up on the trace. We'll go ahead and run it out once, but this is a federal parkway, so we're just taking it easy. But I love the way that it's transitioning in these turns. It feels very nice. Very well balanced. I mean, very just easy to drive fast. I mean, we're at 20% of what we could be doing on this road, no doubt about it. Very nice. Very nice. So progressive. Yeah, the shifts are good, man. A little bit bit better, definitely than automatic when you're doing it yourself.
Yeah, I think so.
But you still got to work the throttle with the shifts, right? Yeah. I think you could definitely damage the car if you're constantly being on the gas, then shifting, and then you're just, you got to time it right. You got to expect the shift. You got to like, okay, I want to shift. I'm going to let off the fuel. I'm then going to shift. I'm going to give it the second that it takes to fully sink, and then I'm going to go ahead and get back on the fuel. Again, easy to learn that. I don't think you'd have a problem. I've already figured it out. I've been driving the car 5 minutes, so, very intuitive.
Yeah, I like it because it actually, even though it's an F1 transmission, it still gives you some driver involvement.
It does. Now, it would be great to have the gated manual, right? But still, for the daily driving and just the overall fun factor, this is just fine. I mean, that's full throttle right there. I mean, you really got to rev this car out to get the power, no doubt about it. I mean, she's linear. She's probably like your old school Porsche, unless you had a turbo, which that's the complete opposite, right? But she likes to be revved out. So if you really want to enjoy this car, we should probably be in second even, or third, but we are in the trace, so we're going to take it easy. But I like it, man. This is fun. I'm surprised how quiet it is, though. I mean, really, even though we're in the 4,000 RPM range, you and I can hear each other very easily. Are you going to be investing in an aftermarket exhaust, or are you just going to keep it stock?
Eventually. I figure if I start having problems with this exhaust.
Are they known to have issues?
Well, no, but it's 25 years old,
I mean, that's a fair point, right? I mean, at that point, something's got to break a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I might get like a Capristo Stage 1 maybe. I don't want it too loud.
Yeah, I think it would definitely open up the sound and the feeling of the throttle response a bit more with that. Having said that, this is not bad. I mean, it sounds good. You hear more of the mechanical engine versus just the exhaust, which I'm a fan of. And that's full throttle, guys. We're doing 80, sure, but again, it builds power very linear, right? So it's one of those cars that if you really want to exploit it, you're going to have to run it out. You're going to have to keep it in a high RPM band. There's a little bit of torque in this thing. It's not like there's nobody home at 3,000 RPMs, but it's definitely coming alive around 5. So like that's full. That's lifting off just a little bit. You can keep the fuel, you can keep your foot down and shift, but I do recommend you kind of take off just a little bit of the gas pedal to initiate that shift. I just think it's probably better for the transmission, better for the overall driving experience. So guys, it's always fun when we get to experience what the owners think of their own cars, right? And I also wanted to try with the windows down. So I'm going to switch to point of view again and let Alan kind of talk about his Ferrari here. Is that good? So, has the car lived up to your expectations?
Oh, definitely. One of the reasons I chose this particular model is it's only 167 inches long. So I think it's really kind of the last Ferrari small sports car. Because when the 360 came out, 1 year after this, it was at least a foot longer, and all the mid-engine cars since then are at least a foot longer.
It sounds so much louder with the windows down. It's amazing how the windows dampen the sound.
That's for sure.
Have you owned Ferraris previously?
No, this is my first one. I've like rented them, so I've driven quite a few Ferraris, but I've never owned one. I almost bought a 488 in 2018, but McLaren came out with the 720S then, so I decided to go ahead and get that.
Nice.
But then my Porsche started having problems, so I thought, well, I still always wanted a Ferrari, so maybe I'll get a little older classic one.
There you go.
And then I can afford to keep the McLaren too.
Yeah, I think this is safe money. Really safe money.
Yeah, hopefully they'll go up.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go down. I mean, it's not like they're making more of them.
I mean, It's a great Ferrari miniature car where you can still get a good example for, you know, under 90,000 or so.
Right. I can't believe this one only has 12,000 miles. I mean, like you said, it's 400 miles a year.
Yeah.
Just enough to I guess, warm her up and blow the carbon out, right? But
yeah.
That's about it. She didn't have a hard life. She's got a little shove, you know, just a little shove.
Oh, I only had the pedal down about halfway there. We'll get another straightaway. We'll give it full throttle.
But such usable, lovely power.
Yeah.
Nothing that makes you feel like you're going to kill yourself or lose traction.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love that. I think all modern cars have gone to the horsepower wars and it's all bragging rights, and you lose a lot of the fun of the joy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take it to the track, which none of the guys I know do that have these cars, or very few of them, you don't really enjoy the car. I mean, you could try, you know, and when you get caught, it's the end of that, you know? Well, guys, thanks for watching our content. Really appreciate it. We're really close to 10,000 subs, so if you think we did a great job, go into the comments, leave a note. Thank Alan for me for allowing me to come out today and experience this incredible car on an absolutely perfect day. It couldn't be nicer day. It's 68 degrees, great weather to shoot a car. You know, I really love this car. I love this car. I love this whole ethos, this design language, you know, the Pininfarina design. Like, it's beautiful, guys. And the spec, you know, Rosso Corsa red, you got the Ferrari hand-painted shields, the black interior versus the tan, I'm personally more of a fan of. It's perfect. I mean, this design is glorious. It was so beautiful for its time, and it has gotten nothing but better looking as it's aged. I mean, think about this thing in 50 years when we are totally in an EV world. Talk about something that's going to be very collectible, an absolute screaming future classic. Only 1,000 of these were produced in this particular, you know, format. And if you get the GTS, I heard only 500 were made. So get your hands on one of these if you can afford it. Buy the best low mile example, great condition like this one. I mean, this is safe money, guys. I mean, I would rather have 80, 100 grand in this thing than I would keep it in the bank, which is, you know, fractional reserve lending, fiat currency, like, good luck, okay? And the whole thing could implode tomorrow. Whereas this thing is always gonna have some value, is always gonna be a great collectible, cool thing to own. So absolutely think that this is the way to go if you're looking to buy your first Ferrari. I really think the 355 specifically is the buy. And yeah, they were over 100 grand during COVID. Now they've kind of come back down to reality again where they were in 2019, 2020, but they never went below where they were, right? So they've kind of come down a little bit. I think now's the time to get a great deal on one, as Alan did. Remember, this ran on Bring a Trailer and it no-sold, which means it never hit the reserve price, guys, which means Alan was able to then reach out to the seller and negotiate a fair deal. He came out ahead, no doubt about it. In the end of the day, come on, it's a Ferrari. It's awesome. So appreciate you watching. Really thank you for checking our content out. I thank Alan so much for having me out today, and we will catch you guys on the next one.